Now, President Trump continues to lash out at his impending loss over his stupid border wall. Now, this government shutdown is continuing. We are now still in the third week. This is the longest government shutdown in history, and there is no end in sight. And according to a New York Times report, Trump has lashed out at Mick Mulvaney for the beating he's taking in the press and the polls. In fact, his acting chief of staff, Mulvaney, he's reported to have said, quote, "We are getting crushed. Why can't we get a deal?" Well, look, hey, if you're wondering why you can't get a deal, maybe you should look into a mirror or something. I mean, because here's the thing. A deal would look like something like, I don't know, the Democrats giving $1.3 billion for border security in exchange for reopening the federal government. Now, that border security money would end up going to mostly a fence. So border fencing, right? Now, a fence is kind of like a wall, I guess. Close enough to it. And it would do basically the same thing that a wall would do, which is almost nothing, but at least it's only $1.3 billion. Now, I have it on good authority that both Republicans and Democrats would take that deal. You know why? Because they already passed that deal. That was one that went through Congress, and it passed, and Trump has refused to sign it. Why? Because he was bullied by Rush Limbaugh and Ann Coulter, of all people, right? So, look, the problem is you. The problem is you, Trump. And that's the thing. The American people know the problem is Trump. They knew that the fault of the shutdown is his. According to a recent CNN poll, 55% of Americans are saying Trump is responsible for the shutdown. 32% blame the Democrats, which I think is insane because it's very, very clear that it is Trump's fault. He's saying, why can't we get a deal? Well, you know what that means to him? Why don't the Democrats fold? Why don't the Democrats fold and make me look good? And make me look very strong? Well, you have the weak hand here. Because earlier, you basically admitted on camera that, hey, I will be proud and happy to shut down the government over border security. That's what you said. That's what you said. And now, what now that it's unpopular, or has always been unpopular, but now that you know how unpopular it is, and you're taking a hit for it, now you're saying, oh, well, why can't we make a deal? Why can't we make a deal? Well, the deal is you. That's the problem, is you. You're standing in the way of a deal. Just sign what you've been given already, because you know you're not going to win this one. And by the way, on to Mitch McConnell here for a second. Now, Mitch McConnell, he does not want to bring this up in the Senate. Why? Because he knows that he will end up losing the vote, and because there are enough senators, or they believe that there is enough senators that will vote to reopen the government that would override a presidential veto. Now, he doesn't want to do that to Donald Trump. Why? Because he's up for election in 2020. So this comes down to both politics on the part of Mitch McConnell and ego on the part of Donald Trump. It's insane. Insanity. I mean, anyway, more poll results here. 9% of respondents say both sides are responsible. And I'm going to get to who those are. Democrats, of course, are unified in their blame towards President Trump. 89% blame Trump. I'd love to see the Democrats that are blaming the Democrats for it. Okay. Republican rank and file members blame the Democrats 65% to to 23% who blame Donald Trump. So at least more Republicans are like, nah, dude, Trump owns this shit, so he better do something to fix it. Independents are more apt to blame Trump, 48 to 34, and are most likely to say both sides are responsible. Saying that, I don't know, both sides, that's not the cool thing to do. Because it is very, very clear that that Trump is at fault. I mean, that's what it is. This is the guy who said at the beginning, I will be more than happy to shut down the government. And he did. And now he's saying, oh, we can't get a deal. We're getting crushed in the press. Well, dumbass, all you have to do is sign the bipartisan bill that already passed. That's it. That's it. That's all you have to do. And you could finally say, okay, we made a deal. And it's a great deal. It's a tremendous deal. It's not like your followers will believe anything or won't believe anything you say anyway, because they do. Just say, I got the most tremendous deal that I could get from the Democrats. The Nancy Pelosi, tough negotiator. But you know what? I ended up getting some funding for border security. That's all he has to come out and say. But no, he wants it all. He wants it all. But why? He can just sign this, though. This whole thing can be over, and let's move on with our lives. Let's move on, okay? Now, I'm sure people are saying, yeah, but why don't the Democrats just give him what he wants? Well, because if you give this guy an inch, he will take a mile. The next time that he ends up wanting something, more funding for his wall, because $5.7 billion, it's not going to cover the wall. No, that's going to cover a very small fraction that, it would be a very small fraction of that total cost of the wall, because the total cost of the wall would be somewhere between $20 to $60 billion. So, and then of course there's money when it comes to staffing the wall, the surveillance, etc. Right? Not only that, but you would have to go through and use eminent domain and take a whole bunch of people's land, and that's not popular, especially in freedom-loving Texas. So that's not a popular position. That's why most Americans don't want this wall. And also, most Americans do not want to shut down the government over this wall. And you think it's bad now. Wait until food stamps run out. Wait till WIC runs out. That's going to happen as well. So now what? Now what? You still want this wall? Is this the hill that you want to die on? That's what they want. That's what they want. The thing is, again, on stuff that he would want. Say the Democrats do fold and give him $5.7 billion. What's to prevent him from stopping to get the rest of that money? Or to ban Muslims? He'll just shut down the government because, well, hey, I found something that works. I can get whatever I want. I just have to shut down the government for it. And I don't think that you should be able to hold the government hostage or weaponize people's livelihoods for your political projects. That said, people are going to say, of course, but Obama. The government shutdown. President Obama, he shut down the government for 17 days to get Obamacare. For one, that's two different situations, right? So, look, there was a government shutdown over the ACA. This is the President Obama trying to get people health care versus building a wall that has been proven not to work. Most people know that. Most people do support getting better health care. They didn't necessarily support the ACA because I think a lot of people thought that it didn't go far enough. And that's the problem. 70% of Americans want single payer. So again, it's not the same sort of situation here where you have clearly one president saying, no, I don't want to have the government open so until I get my wall, which again is part funding for the wall, versus another president that says, look, I want to make a deal, but I also want to give Americans health care, and you guys decided to shut down the government over it. It's very different. So when it comes to who's being crushed on this deal, on this issue, well, if you're getting crushed, well then you only have one person to blame. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.